how do we get to know our mind and our thoughts so that we can understand what we really are, which is not our thoughts? That's the whole point of awakening. We are awake when we're present. So we are awake when we're not caught up in the mind stream, when we have a moment of pause. Welcome to the Awakening Process 101 podcast. I'm here with Louise Ewell, and my name is Pernilla Burke. And this podcast is about transformation, emotional health, and spirituality, and the meaning of awakening in the context of our modern lives. Louise and I have been best friends since we were 4 years old, and these conversations are explorations of how awakening and psychological health influences our daily life. And today we've chosen a subject that is the second sutra of the Yoga Sutras. We've chosen this sutra because it has to do with the mind. And yoga in itself means union, so union with the divine. And this sutra, which is called Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha, the direct translation of this sutra is cessation of mind stuff is yoga. So what does that mean? Cessation of mind stuff is basically understanding how your mind works. And in the sutra, it talks about controlling the mind, but control is kind of like a bad word to use. How do we get to know our mind and our thoughts so that we can understand what we really are, which is not our thoughts? What we really are is that self, the being that we are, is beyond our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. And that's the whole point of yoga, but that's the whole point of awakening. So we are awake when we're present, right? So we are awake when we're not caught up in the mind stream, when we have a moment of pause. So that's why we chose it, because, yeah, go on.
Yeah, wonderful introduction there, I think. But before it comes too deep and heavy, I just want... No, but I just... No, it's not supposed to be too deep and heavy. That's wrong for me to say. But I just want to say that awareness is the key. So when we're becoming aware of this mind, then of course we have the possibility to master our mind or change our mind. And when we're becoming aware, it resonates a little bit with the last podcast we did when we talked about self-talk. And I think that the more we become aware of how the mind are passing through our brain, and we become aware how they affect our body, our emotions, our actions, and then we have the possibility to do something about it.
When we talk about these things, every subject matter that we come up with, we always come back to awareness, which is just such a beautiful thing, because if we could have that awareness, the sort of second question. So when we're walk around in life and we're living by instinct, driving from one place to another, and we're in our sort of forward thinking mind, just living on going forward and active and everything. We're not really aware, right? It's sort of when we step back for a moment, and literally it's almost like you can visualize stepping back. And we're like, oh, why am I driving so fast? Or why am I snapping at this person? That's when the awareness comes in. If we take that back to this specific sutra, the translation here in this book, it's the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali by Swami Satchidananda, which everybody in the yoga business has this book. It's the guy with the little pink robe on the front. But it says...
I just show mine here.
Yeah, she has the same one. The restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. My question then becomes, is it when we have some sort of restraint of our mind that we are able to become more aware? Or does awareness help us to become have more restraint? Which one comes first? And I think I know the answer already, that we don't really know.
Well, you felt you got the answer while you were saying this out loud.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you were talking about awareness, I was thinking about how they play into each other, and of course it's all the same thing.
Why would we not like to be aware? Because it can be uncomfortable sometimes.
But I don't think it's about liking or not liking. I think you're just not aware that you have the ability to be aware. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and absolutely.
I don't think we choose awareness. I mean, we can, I guess, when you get to start working with these things, you can be like, wait a minute, am I aware now? Am I taking a pause before I react? It's something that comes with time of spiritual practice.
I would say that even people that are not, understand me right, spiritual can cultivate awareness.
Of
And
course.
I think that awareness needs to be cultivated. So it is an active choice. We could be so much in our awareness flow, in our awareness process, so we don't think that we are aware. But I think that awareness needs to be cultivated, and that comes back to today's topic, because that was happened when you kind of woke up to this sutra.
The reason why these specific words, Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha, is kind of a big deal. Even I'm not a yoga teacher, and I haven't really studied the Yoga Sutras. I mean, I've studied a lot of texts, but not this one. I was about 5 years sober, so that was like 2004. And I was living in LA, and I had come to New York to visit my brother. And I had been out and late, and like, I don't know, I was doing exactly the same things that I was doing when I was in New York. But I was not using. I was out late, hanging out with people, and it was just awful. In my mind, like I just hadn't changed my behavior. It was 5 years of sobriety, but nothing was really different. And I went to, I can't remember which spiritual bookshop in New York City, and then I picked this book up, and I love how like we pick books up of that. Yeah, I don't know, why am I buying this? And I like literally open it, and the first thing on the first page, the first Yoga Sutra is like, and now the exposition of yoga is being made. It's like, and now yoga, which means now we're going to talk about yoga. And then the second one is this, Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha. And it says, cessation of the mind stuff. And I remember I was sitting on this little park bench on the West Side Highway, looking out of the river. And I was like, cessation of mind stuff. And I'm like, is that actually a thing? Like, is that actually a possibility that there's a way to slow down the mind? Like, I was completely blown away in that moment that this was actually something that was a possibility, or even something that we could have as a discussion, or that even was a thing. Like, I'd never had any awareness on the fact that slowing down the mind is something that we can, or the restraint of the mind stuff is something that we can do. And I just remember it. That is what I've been looking for my whole life. The cessation of the mind stuff. And I think that it was the beginning of, even though it took me years to actually slow the mind down. It took me years. But it was like the beginning of understanding that the mind is not who we are. The thoughts are created by stored emotion that hasn't been resolved. Unresolved emotions that we repress and suppress throughout our life creates thousands and thousands of thoughts. So the more stuff that we repress, the crazier our mind is. And if we don't have any tools to work with our mind, which most people don't, it's crazy in there. I mean, it was crazy in there. And I don't know if you had this experience, but in early sobriety, like, we didn't have drugs and alcohol. So all we had was our mind, and it was driving me crazy. I mean, it was so bad. It really, I thought most of the time I was like, I'm going insane. Like, it's just so busy in there. And it wasn't like a happy thought process either. It was, most of it was like, everything sucks.
No, but we live very much up in our mind.
Yeah.
We live
Yes,
and we
exactly.
experience, and we experience with our mind, because this brings me to the mindful walking meditation that I do in the
so great.
in the nature. And very often when I explain it, and especially for young people who are attending, I said that when we walk in nature, we always think, oh, this is a beautiful tree. Oh, I need to solve the problem with my boyfriend or girlfriend. Or how can I put the strategy so I get this work? So we forget to walk with our body and to experience with our heart. So what we do is like we're walking with the mind, and the mind just get nurtured. The more we walk, the more we talk to ourselves. And I'm not saying it's bad to talk to ourselves, absolutely not. But all these discussions very often continue in our unconscious, as we're not aware that we're having this discussion, that we want to solve these things.
You mean the conversation with ourselves?
Yeah, the conversation with ourselves. So when I say to the people, now we're here with the nature, please to see if you can experience the sensations in your body and if you can see with your heart. Because very often we have this judging thought, oh, I don't like that tree, or I don't like that smell, or we validate things and we analyze things too often. But to just experience the nature or any conversation also, by the way, with our heart is a completely different connection with ourselves. Because the mind comes in and have many different forms and shapes, how they want to. That's why we can go in and manipulate ourselves. Say, but I really do believe in this. But as you said before, we are not our thoughts, but we can become our thoughts if we don't cultivate awareness of how the mind is affecting us.
Right now in this moment, you and everyone who's listening, take a moment, and if you're sitting in a chair, cross-legged like I am, or if you're sitting in a chair with your feet on the floor, or you're standing up with your feet on the floor, take a moment and feel what it feels like on the bottom of your feet. It's not just saying, oh, that's the bottom of my feet. It's really feeling, what does it feel like? Is it pressure? Is it warm? Can I feel the sensation of the shoe against my heel? Can I feel the sensation of my sock? Like, does it feel hard or soft? My friend Abdi always says we live in our minds, and the purpose of meditation or awareness, this is just awareness. We're not even really meditating right now. We're just being aware of the bottom of our feet brings your awareness down, away from our mind. And of course, it's a visual exercise. It's not actually bringing our thoughts like literally, but it's a visual experience, a visual practice. We're just going to do a quick body scan. We're going to start at the top of our head, right where the crown chakra is, if you know where that is. Just breathing slowly here, feeling sensation at the top of the head. Breathing in, breathing out. We're going to move our focus, our attention into the center of the head. See if you can sense the air as it comes through the nostrils into the back of the throat, flowing, synchronizing with the breath. Moving your attention down to the center of the throat, the neck. The throat chakra. Ask yourself, what does it feel like when the air comes in and out of my throat? When the air comes up and when the air comes down into the chest. What does it feel like? Moving down to the center of the chest, the heart chakra. Feeling the air, the breath come in and out, descending, ascending. Notice now that your mind or your focus is in your body, not up by your head. Just being present with each breath. And we're just going to skip ahead and move down into the center of the belly. Noticing the belly and the ribs expand, contract. Here again, noticing that we are focusing on the lower part of our body. Our attention is no longer up by our head, it's down at the bottom of our trunk. Feeling into the quite peaceful feeling here. Taking a snapshot of how actually nice this feels. Breathing, letting the belly expand, contract. Going to go back to the bottom of our feet. And feeling the bottom of our feet, I want you to take a snapshot of this feeling, sensation of whatever it is that you feel here right now. Socks, the pressure, the shoes. And throughout your day, leave a piece of your attention here to ground yourself. In gratitude for our body, we bow. You can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pernilla. Should we stop here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go to bed now. No.
Oh, nice.
No, but I love that the bottom of the feet is such a great tool because it's so easy. But it's the remembering to do it.
Yeah,
That's
it's to
the
remember
problem.
to do.
Yeah.
I would maybe not say it's always easy, but I feel like when we can be down in our feet, and also when you walk mindfully, feeling the ground beneath your feet, like what is the ground I'm stepping on, how that is changing.
Yeah.
And also remember how much vibration that comes from earth into our feet.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't, but there is frequencies from Earth. I just want to share when you guide it in. I love when you start with the crown and you guide us through our chakras. And it's almost like pouring water coming deeper and deeper and deeper down.
Mm-hmm.
When you also said, what am I feeling? What are the sensations? I mean, sometimes, well, actually, I still have. For me, it's difficult to put words on all the feelings. When I started practicing, even in a long time in practice, I didn't feel. It was difficult for me to put words on what I was feeling.
Mm.
And the sensations helped me. Like it was, if there was pricking
Prickly,
or,
yeah.
Exactly. And I said, wow, this is sometimes
Yeah,
even
I would say it's a new type of language to describe the feeling of the bottom of the feet. Of course, you don't know how to do that.
No, but I think we have touched a lot of interesting things. I want to take this a little bit further to pain and stress. I'm just very surprised how quickly I can go when laying down and go to sleep, and just one thought can change my whole nervous system.
Yeah.
Like just the thought of something bad that happened, or a person I'm having an issue with, or something that was unresolved. And from going to almost where we were in your meditation, sitting, laying down, grounded, and all of a sudden, and then everything is just changing in a split second. And then I need to start all over again.
Yeah.
That's how powerful the mind is.
But I think that what is interesting is if we can come to realize that the chitta, the mind stuff, like Sally says, it's also the divine. I mean, chitta is Shakti. But the idea is that if we can recognize it as, and sort of work with it, be friends with it, and sort of disconnect our attachment to it. So somehow the thought that you have is attached to you somehow to create that kind of response, because the same thought in a different person means nothing.
Exactly.
So it's the charge of that one thought into that unresolved emotions within you. So then that's the work. We have to start asking ourselves, like, why is this one thought? What is it that's my core belief around this thought? And what's the core? That's actually, no, it's the core feeling behind the thought that is the thing that we need to let go or work with. So I have to have another. I'm letting go.
Oh, we're back to
David
the other
Hawkins.
book. We love that book.
I was looking at this last night, and we're not talking about surrender today, but they work together. These, I mean, understanding the mind and thoughts and surrender is all part of the same package. So here it says, eventually, page 23, eventually it will be seen that all thoughts are resistance. Eventually it will be seen that all thoughts are resistance. They are all images that the mind has made to prevent us from experiencing what actually is. When we have been letting go for a while and have begun experiencing what is really going on, we will laugh at our thoughts. Thoughts are fakes, absurd make-believes that obscure the truth. So this is Yoga Sutra number 2 right here. We're talking about pursuing thoughts can keep us occupied endlessly. We will discover one day that we are right where we started. Thoughts are like goldfish in a bowl, and the real self is like the water.
Exactly.
And I think that's when I sat on that park bench that day, I had a fragment of time when I understood this idea that the thoughts are just, they're like little clouds on the sky that are stuck. We're attached to them. We're engaging with them all the time. So they just come back more. But when we start understanding that they're productions of our emotion, productions of our unresolved emotion, and work with that, we see, there's a sky above. And that's the place of truth, right? That's what we want to step into. So the real self.
Yeah, and that's the authentic self, the real self. That's the true self. That's authentic self.
The last sentence is, the real self is the space between the thoughts, or more exactly, the field of silent awareness underneath all thoughts.
I have a question. I understand this completely, but just to freak out a little bit. No, but does that mean, because we are not our thoughts, and we are not emotion, they're passing through us, they're not the essence of us, but they affect us. And as you say, that the thoughts are repressed, unresolved emotions or feelings, and also what Patanjali writes in the sutra, Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha. He also writes Nirodha. I'm dyslexic in pronouncing things, so let's just call it Chitta Vritti. We can stop there. That's okay. But if we tap in behind that, if we are in those pauses, if we are that water, are we then all the same?
Yeah, I mean,
is that what is is that where we connect and become just
that we're all one, right?
That's the union. But then we're all just the same.
Yeah, but Sally would say, and because we were all like, but if we don't have an ego, that if we're all the same, like, what's the point? Why are we even here? And she would say things like, the ego is the one that makes sure we eat. And the ego is the one that makes sure that we dress ourselves and go to work in the morning. We have to have both in order for us to function.
As human beings.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. So yin and yang and day and night.
Or we would, but then you look at like Ramana Maharshi and these guys, they just sat around and stared. They had no ego. I mean, him especially, because it was all, Ramana Maharshi was all about.
Of course, I understand that, but that's maybe, I went in to see a play of Strindberg, which reminded me of one of Rumi's, the Sufi poet's poems, which was written in the 12th century. Yeah. Amazing of being a human, how difficult it is.
Yeah.
But if that we can create value for everything coming, like the guest house, he writes, that every thought or emotion, invite them, smile at them, because they're there to guide you, and you can use that to really create value. Strindberg also talked about that in his play, which was really, really amazing, difficult to be human being. Back to Sally, back to the ego, that it's also giving us something to feed. Back to the people that have, if you have a normal life like we do, maybe you're married, maybe you have a relationship, you have children, you have a normal work, you need to pay your bills, then of course, that's part of being human. And then it's more difficult if I was just going to sit in a monastery just to resolve my own Chitta Vritti in this, then it would be, now I get distracted on my children, and that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I think that, like, the whole point of this podcast is that we are not sitting in a cave.
No, exactly.
That we're two moms, we make dinner and we do dishes, and we're driving from one place to another and that's the whole point, is how do we bring awakening or spirituality or awareness into our daily lives as modern human beings with traffic and financial
issues,
worries, or whatever it is. That's the whole point of this. I went through a phase where I really I was doing so many sort of, quote, spiritual things, right? That I got stuck in thinking that I was not better than others, but that I shouldn't be bothered by this thing. or
You
this
should
thing.
know. You should know better.
I am evolved. And I've spoken about this before, but then I spoke to the spiritual teacher, Patrick Connor, and he's like, you're hitting a glass ceiling in your spiritual path because you are not in full acceptance of being a human being. That you have to, it's not like you have to, but embracing the fact that we are human beings and we have the human condition, which is that we worry about things and we're stuck in our mind, and we do the best we can. I mean, that's just part of, and that's, I guess what Rumi says, it's like the human being guides us. We're not just light floating around as like little bubbles of light and sitting in a cave and being like, yeah, I'm one with God. That doesn't happen. We're just planting seeds so that we can have a moment maybe this week where we go, I'm not my mind. Whew, thank God. Oh, yeah, screw
So
that guy.
nice. It's so nice. Exactly. Exactly.
It's not that we're going to like somehow change everything. It's just little pieces of information that gives us more joy when we understand how to work with our thoughts. It just creates it creates more peace and calm in our life. And that's what I'm going through now when I've been, I read this sutra 20 years ago, and I guess my meditation practice became really serious 10 years ago. But I've also, I mean, like I said, I had serious depression and I had to take medicine for this. And it's not just like meditation solved it. It doesn't work like that. But I've gotten to a place where I feel like, and this morning I had a thought that did the thing that you were talking about. Like, it's like, oh God, this is not going to work. And then I had the awareness. I was like, oh, there it is. But that's a good morning.
That's a good morning.
You should see me while I'm cooking dinner and doing dishes and hungry and hate everybody. Oh,
That
so
happens too.
liberating.
No, but I like that you pointed out that we are just two human beings, and that we're
We're
trying
just
to
doing the
live
best we
life.
can.
Yeah, we're doing our best I can, but we do have an interest of awareness and to wake up.
And not
Yeah,
be ruled by our mind chatter. I mean, that's what this podcast, this specific episode is about.
yeah.
How can I realize that my mind chatter is actually something that's caused by repressed, suppressed emotion? How can I work with it to just have an awareness that like, this is actually not who the true self, but yeah, it's there most of the
It's
time.
there. No, but I think that's why it's so important. Like, if we want to, nothing what we're talking about comes from free. So if you want to grow as a human being or make your own human revolution, as we say in our Buddhist practice, then you need to work for it. If you want to run a marathon, you need to practice for it. If you want to cultivate deeper awareness, you need to practice for it. So both you and I, we do have some spiritual practice. We have some rituals that we are follow. So of course you need to have that if you really want to explore a deeper awareness. It doesn't just drop down in the top of your head. You need to make a little bit of effort.
Meeting it halfway. If
Yeah.
I go looking for this, the universe will also provide. I mean, I think that for me in my path, I noticed that like when I go looking for solutions, sometimes they arrive without me actually looking in the right place because I'm actually looking for it. I wouldn't have known that when I read the sutra 20 years ago, that somehow I would have an answer to it. But I do now because I kept looking.
Yeah. But just to summon up a little bit, what tools, now you guided us through the meditation, the body scan to feel the feet, what kind of other tools, yoga, we mentioned meditation, could be suggested for becoming a little bit more aware of our mind?
But I think it's the same as we always say. It's like the self-reflection, just asking ourselves, like, what are we doing? Why am I acting like this? Why am I having these thoughts? Why? And then just that creates an awareness.
Yeah.
And all of the things that we talk about here, meditation, yoga, breathing, they all work with each other in order to shift this aspect of ourselves. This is our thoughts are like merged with who we are, right? And then we try to keep with these practices, just create a little bit of distance between me and my thoughts.
Become a little bit a witness.
Yes, exactly.
A witness of what's going on.
Yeah, the witness
like
is
that.
key.
I used to say that a lot, but not a lot. But in my practice and when I do have meditation evenings, that becoming a witness, it's quite fun. You have that pause between.
You're the observer.
Exactly, the seer of what's going on.
Yeah. I'll just end with this, but I'm writing a book right now, and the working title of all of the stuff that I wrote and have written was observations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be called that because that's too boring, but it's really observations of a modern being, because that's what I'm doing. I'm observing.
But then I have to say, observe with a neutral mind and not observe by judging and being critical,
of course.
because that's what we do a lot. I mean, that's
Of
a lot
course.
of people would say, oh, but I observe. Yeah, but you observe and then you have a thought with that. Oh, that's ugly, or she's sweet, or we always think something about that observations, to really observe with neutral aspect. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Was that a goodbye?
No, I said thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the podcast.
No, thank you for talking about these things with me, because I love it.
Oh, thank you for inviting me to talk to all these things with you. I love it too. I hope that our listeners are loving it too. If you have any suggestion of what you would like us to bring up in this podcast, you're more than welcome to text or just send.
Well, actually, you should email. It's Pernilla, Pernilla, at awakening-101.com. Email us and we'll bring up what you want to talk about, because that's what we love to do.
That's what we love to do. Wonderful. I think this is great.
Okay. See you later.
See you later,
Back to life.
Back to life. Don't be too awake. Don't cultivate too much awareness.
No. I'm going to yell at somebody at some point today. It's fine.
It's going to make you feel and you have too many thoughts.
Kidding, feeling is awful. Okay, I love you. Bye.
Let's have some fun out there and let's smile like Pernilla is always doing.
See you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.